All right. Let's get her going. All right, welcome in, folks. Hey, Waffle. God, I can't tell you to stop calling me daddy. You're just going to keep doing it. Or you'll find something worse to call me. So you know what? Do whatever you want. As long as it's not something I have to ban you for. How's it going? We're back with more Great Ace Attorney. In the midst of the final case, which is very exciting. It's been very fun so far. If you make me stop, I'll call you Big Boy instead. Yeah, I think I'd prefer Daddy. I mean, it's not much of a change, but you know, well, we'll take that one instead. Yeah, we're back. How you doing? What have you been up to? I've been doing a lot of reading and a lot of figuring out what I want to do. Is it Strongheart like you thought? We don't know yet, but I'm still confident. How's it going, Doppel? Long day, daughter puked? Oh no! Hopefully she's feeling better. I know as a kid, it's like, sometimes you get sick and you just puke like crazy, and other times you puke once and you're like, alright, I'm good now. I remember those days. Someone in Dundorma asked if I'm a dad. Like, genuinely? Were they serious? Because that's hilarious. I've, pretty much today, because, the new patch came out for PGR, came out yesterday, well, it technically came out this morning, at like 1 a.m., I think is when they dropped the patch, but it was like from 1 to 9 a.m., so I couldn't do it last night. And so I did that, this morning, and they changed quite a bit. They changed a lot of the UI again. They seem to do that a lot. And I kind of like the new UI better. It's a little harder to navigate, but it looks a lot nicer. And it's hard to navigate because I'm not used to it, right? But it's better categorized. I just need to know what's in each category. So it'll take some getting used to, but I really like it. Is it because of your sneeze? Oh, yeah, you do have a dad sneeze. Not even my dad sneezes as loud as you. You go off like, not even my mom sneezes as loud as you. My mom sneezes like a cannon shot. And you just scream. Which is, bizarre. But I mean, hey, you gotta do what you gotta do, right? Otherwise you explode. But yeah, I'm super hyped for the PGR patch. We would have been doing it tonight. Unfortunately, because the patch came out literally today, the banner's not up yet for the new unit. They update the patch and then the banner comes out the day after that, so it's technically coming tomorrow. So we're gonna wait until Friday before we do that, but I'm super hyped. I've done a little bit of preparation, mainly like, there was a new player reward for people who are showing up for the first time, and like it also applies to everyone who's already played the game, just retroactively. So I ended up getting a new S rank selector, so I finally got the main ice DPS, because I know the ice team's not changing. It still hasn't changed where the current the Chinese server is at. The ice team is still the same as it is right now. They're kind of on life support, so I figured I might as well invest in that. And then one of the physical tank that I use, Rosetta, she got her leap, which means that she got upgraded. So that was highly recommended to invest in, and since I already have the physical DPS meta team already set up, and I'm going for the new unit that's going to buff that up, figured I might as well do that. So, downloaded a new Mahjong client. Oh, nice. Is it called FF14? Because you already had that downloaded, I thought. I was unaware there were other ones. What's even the point? Oh, Rishi City. Okay. But yeah, there was that. Oh, and I was looking at, I don't think we talked about this because I wasn't streaming for a while because I've got sick on Saturday or Friday. How about TGS, Waffle? How you feeling about that? You happy? Because I don't think anybody is. Yeah, I don't think anybody liked Capcom's showcase at TGS. Yeah, I did see your message. I don't think anybody was happy about it except for maybe Dragon's Dogma 2 fans. And even then, it was like not much more information than we already knew. It was like we got information on a new vocation and that was it. So yeah, TGS was kind of a letdown. That was pretty bad. So yeah, I guess we're not getting more Monster Hunter news, which is weird. I guess we're just gonna get a random Capcom showcase at some point that just drops the new Monster Hunter. Glad I missed it then? Yeah, you didn't miss jack shit. There was like, what, Monster Hunter Now, Dragon's Dogma 2. I think there's something for Resident Evil, I forget what. And then like 2 other things that nobody cared about, and that was it. It's like 5 things total. Monster Hunter Now is the new Monster Hunter for the next 2 years? Oh god, say it ain't so. That'd be so upsetting. There's no way they do that, right? Like, they know it's 2 different audiences. Well, it's Capcom we're talking about. I wouldn't be that surprised. They are historically pretty stupid. This is the franchise that nuked the Mega Man, or this is the company that nuked the Mega Man franchise, so. If it is, I'm breaking up with Craig Capcom, yeah. So yeah. Oh yeah, and next week, this time next week is the new FF14 patch. God, there's so much happening in these 2 weeks. Like, Friday, I'm going to be streaming PGR, which is going to be a shit ton of content. And then, like, starting this time in a week, we'll be doing the Final Fantasy, the new patch for Final Fantasy. And then it'll be October, which means that we're... I said I would play Dead Rising in October, but I don't know if I'm going to have time. I want to finish this, first of all. And we're not that far. Like, I think it's going to take us probably until the end of October to finish this, just at the rate I play it. So, and we still have all the Mega Man games to play. I think once I finish 3, which might even be well, no, probably not tonight, but probably the next time we play it, I'll probably take a break from the Mega Man Zero franchise, do something else for a bit. Expecting something, there has to be a reason they didn't show it. I mean, it's gonna be a remake of a Monster Hunter 4U. I'm not coping. Yeah, we'll see about that. Yeah, so I think I'll probably take a break from Mega Man Zero. We'll probably play some Dead Rising, because I've never played Dead Rising before, and it's suitable for October. And then when Halloween rolls around, we have to play Alien Isolation again, which will be on Tuesday in a month. 5 weeks. Yeah, it's when Monster Hunter was good. Whoa, hey now. Let's not forget the amount of copies that World and Rise sold before we start tossing around rhetoric like that. Let's relax a bit here. Yeah, it's gonna be a busy month. There's a lot of shit happening. Final Fantasy will take a week. This will probably take several more weeks. We got content. I don't know how often I'm going to stream PGR, though. There's a lot of story that we have to go through. I've been saving it. I didn't like Rise much, so I get it. Yeah, but I mean, Rise is de facto a better designed game. Like, just looking at the quality of life stuff, there's no question that it's a better game. Whether or not it was exactly what you wanted is a different story. Same deal as World. That's why it sold as many copies as it did. The Clutch Claw and its variant. Oh god, yeah. Terrible. But still better designed than pretty much every Monster Hunter that came before it. It's just, you know, still has its flaws. But anyways, enough talk about what we're gonna do in the future. We got a game to play right now. And speaking of Monster Hunter, I don't know if we're starting that tomorrow or the day after. I don't think we talked about that. I think we said we were going to talk about that, and then we didn't. I think the current plan is still 1 more week of Spider Hack and then start October with it, but I don't know. We'll see how people feel about it. Keep me my switch skills and sheath style. Alright, so we're on Investigation Part 1. We just finished one of the trial sections. Hang on. My webcam. Again, I'm always wrong on where it's supposed to go. E315 up? Sure. The unexpected halt of proceedings sent a clamor around the courtroom. But outside the Bailey, where Londoners knew nothing of the secret trial within, it was a typical still night. Then, at a little past 8 o'clock that evening, Mr. Sholmes and his partner returned to Baker Street. 3rd of November, 8:07 p.m. Sholmes's... I thought he said it was midnight. Oh no, it was just night in general. Also, when did the Thanksgiving dinner pop up? Someone called me out for using a Monster Hunter Village name. Ah, nice. We have returned, my dear fellows. Welcome back to Britain, and thank you for your timely help. Think nothing of it. I believe you had an even more wearing day than Mikotoba and I, no? You could say that. We were on the brink of defeat in court earlier. So this prosecutor, Rasogi, had you on the ropes, did he? And he's your best friend, you say? Well, he's not really the man I knew in Japan anymore. Kazuma's changed. I'm still rizzed by Mikotoba. The man do be looking good. He does have the Giga Chad chin, which we never really noticed until we saw his sprite and his tap dancing. He's the goat. I by the way, I looked up why he tap dances. There's no explanation. He just does. Yeah, he really looks like a lot more like a typical Watson than Iris, which makes a lot of sense based on what we've learned. Oh, Mr. Naruhodo. I mean, it's incredible. To think that he even entertained the idea of acting as the Reaper's assassin. Well, nevertheless, you must introduce me. After all, I've only ever met the young man as a corpse. When all this started, almost a year ago now, Sholmes fucking lied to me. Mr. Sholmes still hasn't told us the truth about what really happened back then. About the motivation for what he himself described as a great detective's lie. Now then, I must say, it's really quite a journey all the way to France. Well, it is another country, Mr. Sholmes. So, what news of Judge Jigoku? Yeah, it's a real journey all the way to France. I'm pretty sure, like, you can drive 8 hours in Alberta and still be in the same province. Oh, Europe. Welcome to Scotland Yard. The investigating detectives there have a lot of questions for the man. Or Professor Mikotoba. This must be quite a shock for him. Yeah, Judge Jigoku apparently knows more about this than he lets on. Ah, yes. I picked this up at the telegraph office on our way home. I could drive like 2 days and still be in Cali? Yeah. I'm not sure, like, if you were to drive from, like, the southern border to the northern border in Alberta, how long it would take. It'd probably take more than 8 hours. I think it would probably take... I mean, given that going to BC takes, like, 5 hours, and we're kind of central, probably be, like, a full day. If I had to guess. I don't know, I'd have to look that up. What is it? Surely you haven't forgotten already. I put upon you for the matter only yesterday. Put upon me, Sholmes. I had to fill out your telegram to Japan and foot the bill as well. Oh, you've had a reply already? What was so urgent, though, Mr. Sholmes? From Central Cal to SoCal, it takes at least 8 hours. Damn. Such matters can wait until later. I'm far too hungry for an involved conversation at present. Well, that's good news, because supper is ready, everyone. Ah, and what a feast it is. If I were none the wiser, I'd think the trial were won already. Roast beef, kippers, stew, steak and kidney pie, Yorkshire pudding. Tomorrow could be a very long day, so eat up. In that case, I think I'll seat myself just here. This appears to be the only one set with a helping of pheasant as well. Hello, TGO Poma. Are we enjoying the Chronicles thus far? The Traveler wishes to know. It's great. This is probably a contender for my favorite Ace Attorney game out of the ones I've played, which is most of them except for Investigations 2. I don't know if it's better than Dual Destinies yet. I need to beat the game to know that, because Dual Destinies became my favorite game in its finale. But it's got potential. It's really great so far. They've made a lot of really good calls. The one thing that I like the most, ironically, has nothing to do with the story. It's the the prelude to the Pursuit theme that they added in this game, where it's like a lower key Pursuit theme that they like build up into the full Pursuit theme. Every time it comes on, it's so fucking good. It makes me so happy. Say it's slightly better than Dual Destinies, but it's close. Yeah, I could definitely see that. It'll really come down to like personal preference how much I like it over Dual Destinies. But it's definitely like, if it's not my number one, it's my number two. These have been great.
Oh, sorry, Hurley, not there. Why ever not? Are we in set places this evening? Yes, and that place is for Susie's daddy.
Oh, right. We gotta talk more about this, Mikotoba. For me?
That's right. I made it especially for you, Professor Mickey.
Mickey. No, that's good.
I see. Well, that's terribly kind of you.
Cool. We're gonna talk about her potentially dead dad now? Is now the time?
It's a shame, really.
What do you mean? My favorite remains Apollo Justice, a controversial pick? You're telling me that is by far my least favorite. By like a wide margin. Maybe Investigations 1 might be lower. Because Investigations 1 is the only time I've been mad that they played the Pursuit theme. But Apollo Justice is at the bottom of my list. I fucking hated Apollo Justice. But hey, to each their own. What do you mean?
Well, for a brief moment, I believed it. That Susie and I were half-sisters, I mean. Oh.
Okay. She caught wise?
Iris, do you mean? Yes, I know now. I overheard yesterday. I secretly listened into the conversation you had, after I tricked you all into thinking I'd left.
What? Well, she is the assistant to a great detective. Can't believe I'm doing crying emotes at someone named Super Manu 7. Okay. The misunderstanding arose because of that autopsy report from 10 years ago. But actually, it turned out that neither Dr. Wilson nor Professor Mikotoba are Iris's father. I hate Mahjong.
Yes, about that, Iris. You know, I know. You can't tell me at the moment. Oh, Iris.
I love the falling over animation for Sholmes. It is pretty great. It's very much in character. And very, very Japanese. That's the classic anime thing of somebody saying someone shocking and everybody face planting.
The pheasant is by way of an apology. I'm sorry for eavesdropping.
Oh, no, that's quite all right.
Then why don't I get my apologetic pheasant?
So just who is Iris's father? Barrick. I suppose that's not something we'll be finding out today. It's actually Judge Jigoku.
So then, let us dine, while our largely pheasantless plates are still piping hot.
A fine idea, Sholmes. It all looks absolutely delicious. It's me. I'm her father. I am your father.
Eat as much as you like. There are always seconds.
This game is loaded. Like, get this much food this easily. It could be our last chance to ask questions before tomorrow's trial. About that telegram from Japan, and about Kazuma. Yeah, me, Devin Backman. I am Iris's father. I can't let this opportunity slip away. Alright, what a pose Sholmes is in. I guess we'll talk to Sholmes first? I don't even know where Iris went. Okay, I guess we're talking to Sholmes. Our listener to the room, wish you good evening. Remember, if the music hasn't stopped, you submitted the wrong evidence. I know that well, but thanks for stopping by. We'll see you around. I talk to myself now. I know you know my IP address. I don't know. Mr. Sholmes, what are you doing?
Surely it's abundantly clear. I wasn't brooding over Mikotoba's refusal to share his pheasant with me. Nevertheless, I felt the need to withdraw from the social circle for a while and look on with hungry eyes. Sorry, Hurley, but I cooked that pheasant especially for Susie's daddy. Even though I've played the role of father to you for far longer.
Mr. Sholmes, can I discuss some things with you?
Certainly, my dear fellow, I find myself quite in the mood for a spell of conversation. No doubt, you're hungry to learn more of my deep love of game.
Oh no, Sholmes is a gamer. Gonna have a heated gamer moment. Look out for any bridges. I can probably contain my curiosity on that one.
You needn't look at me in that fashion.
In what fashion?
It seems that before we discuss the pheasant, we have some rather unpheasant matters to discuss.
Alright. I'm aware that he was talking about game as like wild game, but I think him being a gamer is funnier. So, what was in the telegram you received back from Japan then?
Ah, this. I think my lucky stars had arrived in time. Record found as indicated. Duplicate follows. K. Asogi, A. Shin, A. Shin, T. Gregson, J. Wilson.
Excuse me. People in Dundorma kept annoying me about opening up GM slots, so I had to make a rule channel with rule, pretty much telling them to shut the fuck up about that. Oh, yeah. There's a lot of people who showed up to Dundorma that have been kind of fucking annoying. Which I guess is sort of inevitable. But still, there's a lot of people... There's just a lot of people... We talked about this before, how Lancer is just fucking... Either Lancers or Westmarch's servers just attract a weird breed of gamer. So I try not to interact with that server too much. I do think it's Lancer in particular, just because of the interactions I've had on the PilotNet Discord. I don't know why, but whatever. What? Those 4 names. We've come across that exact same list before. Oh yeah, at the end of the first game. It came up in that unforgettable case last spring. What appeared to be a simple case of aggravated murder turned out to be masking a monumental intrigue. A plot that involved the sale of British governmental secrets to foreign states. Exposing the means by which those secrets were being leaked, we deciphered a fragment of a message. K. Asogi, A. Shin, T. Gregson, J. Wilson. But we didn't find the names out until the case was over, and we never did get to the bottom of what they meant. All we knew was that the information had been sent by somebody in the British government to somebody in Japan. Was it to Jigoku? So, why are the names coming up again now?
Yes! Where did the sender of your telegram discover them, Mr. Sholmes? I have here the message I had wired yesterday. Allow me to read it to you. Enter Judge Jigoku's office undetected and...
It was Jigoku! Oh shit!
Undetected and investigate telegram records. Expect to find communication forbidden dated 1 year ago. List of 4 names. Need by tomorrow. Naruhodo. I sent it to a detective I know who specializes in clandestine missions of this nature.
You asked Inspector Hosonaga to undertake...
Oh yeah, that guy. Fuck, we haven't seen him since the first case.
Inspector Hosonaga to undertake such an onerous task for you.
And in my name. I wonder what guise he opted for this time.
My dear fellows, it was a matter of great urgency, you understand? Anyway, the list of names was found in Seishido's office, as Sholmes predicted.
So you mean that mysterious collection of names that was sent from Britain to Japan was...
It was sent to Judge Jigoku. He was the intended recipient.
I don't believe it.
But that doesn't answer the question of what the list of names actually signifies.
I did formulate a hypothesis about that. Without a shred of evidence, I couldn't possibly have shared it.
Mr. Sholmes looks deadly serious for once. Okay. Let me take a look at that real fast. God, I have so much evidence in this case. Holy crap. This might be a contender for the most amount of evidence you have for one case in an Ace Attorney game. Oh, okay. Well, this is exactly what he said it was. All right. That tragedy we had to go through on the SS Bodia. It was all for nothing. Cosmo wasn't dead at all. We were completely taken in by the lie you told us. Your great detective's lie.
I took no pleasure in deceiving you. However, at the time, all that concerned me was preventing the young man's study tour from taking place, whatever the costs.
What?
I capitalized on the events that transpired to see that he was sent back to Japan.
I hate children. Kids are screaming outside. Hey, move to the country. You'll never hear that again. That's not true. My neighbor has kids. But I don't hear them scream. We're far enough away.
His remains, you mean?
Precisely, Miss Usato. And then, I made sure that somebody else was sent to Britain in his stead.
Oh my, you mean?
The arrangement between our two countries was already in place. One university student lawyer and one judicial assistant to be accommodated on a study tour. In other words, by arranging for someone else to fill the place originally intended for Mr. Rasogi. I would successfully prevent the man from arriving on our shores for several years at least.
Wait, do you mean to say that it was all in aid of stopping Kazuma coming to Britain? That's why you...
Think back, Mr. Naruhodo. Was there not somebody who quite casually urged you to continue on the voyage to England?
It's been like a year. Oh, God.
The terms of this study tour were negotiated by the Department of Justice in both Great Britain and Japan. In the light of Mr. Asogi's unfortunate death, I'm afraid the study tour can no longer go ahead. My dear fellows, the majority of problems have an extremely simple solution, you know. All you require is one lawyer, and the study tour can continue, surely.
But there is no one else with the necessary qualifications, Mr. Sholmes. We know of no other lawyer.
The voyage to London still promises a good month of time. Ample opportunity, I would say, to find yourselves another suitable lawyer.
So, you manipulated me.
I've often remarked on the extraordinary lengths to which friendship will drive a man. I was quite sure that you would rise to the challenge for your late friend.
I don't believe it.
What if it was all contrived? I mean, what happened was treated by the authorities as murder. A woman was mistakenly arrested as the perpetrator. What do you suppose became of her?
Naturally, I didn't allow the misapprehension to have any serious repercussions. I subsequently explained everything and assisted the unfortunate soul in finding the foreign refuge she sought.
Oh, that's nice. I seem to remember Mr. Sato and I had some rather strong words for her.
Well, she was certainly not devoid of all guilt. She deserved every word, I'm sure.
I wonder if she made it to America then.
I'm afraid I simply cannot comprehend it.
Yeah, why the fuck did you do it? I'm giving Sholmes too much credit, but what if he's acting like a dumbass to make Ryunosuke a better lawyer? I mean, there is... Like, that's not a terrible theory, considering when we did the dance of deduction or whatever, when he did it with Mikotoba, he made no mistakes. At no point did he, like, fuck around and, like, say something stupid. He was fully on top of his game with Mikotoba. So I think the theory is possible that, like, he was just trying to make Ryunosuke a better investigator and a better lawyer. It's not implausible.
Why would you go to such lengths, Mr. Sholmes? Why were you so determined to stop Kazuma-sama from reaching Britain?
The truth is, 12 months ago, there was already a very tangible omen of the impending tragedy, you see.
Oh,
An omen that, at this very moment in time, is close at hand.
This shows that he's actually, like, super smart. Yeah, like, I think a lot of his bumbling oafishness I think a lot of that was actually just a front. I think that was him just pretending to try and get Ryunosuke to be better. I think he's actually way smarter than people give him credit for. At least Ryunosuke gives him credit for. He's apparently been working behind the scenes this whole time. An omen of all these tragic events that already existed a year ago is close at hand. Is this the bloody dog collar? Need to find out exactly what Mr. Sholmes knows. Because we found that in Natsume's room, I think? No, it was the criminal's whatever that criminal was who left behind his supposed like riches in that room, but it wasn't. It was a bloody dog collar that was supposedly related to the professor case. It was like probably the dog collar, the dog that was the murder weapon in a weird way used. Okay. Is there more people to talk to, or do I have to examine something? I guess I can present the thing to him, I guess. I know he just gave it to me, but... There was no room for doubt with your instructions in this telegram, Mr. Sholmes. You were very clear that it was Judge Jigoku's office that should be searched. So, you obviously knew that's where this list of names would be found.
Kei Asogi, A. Shin, T. Gregson, and J. Wilson.
We only learned of those 4 names just over 6 months ago now. And only because they appeared as part of the top secret government communications that were leaked.
That's true, yes. But at the time, we were unaware of the background. You see, those 4 names were wired to Japan. Around 6 months before that, approximately this time last year in fact, when you were both still in Japan. It really would be hypocrisy on my part to reprove others for intercepting state secrets. Because after all, I'm perpetually eavesdropping on communications between the British and Japanese governments.
What? You're perpetually doing what? How?
Never mind the details.
No. You can't just say that. You can't just admit you're committing espionage and brush that shit off. I want to know the details.
But you should know. No secret is safe from Herlock Sholmes, and he has designs on knowing it.
Oh my, Mr. Sholmes, what a fabulous line.
Now, 1 month after that list of 4 names was wired to the recipient Jigoku in Japan, Dr. John H. Wilson was murdered. As soon as I learned of the incident, a hypothesis rapidly took shape in my mind. As it turned out, I was partly correct and partly mistaken.
Excuse me.
Nevertheless, it was the beginning of all the tragic events that were to follow.
Mr. Sholmes, please, tell us all you know. Tell us about these 4 names and the tragedy to which they're all somehow connected.
No! Get fucked! Alright, I'll do it. As I said, when I learned of Dr. Wilson's murder in Japan, my mind immediately turned to those 4 names. Because you see, there was someone else on the list who I believed to be recently deceased.
What? Who?
A. Shin, as it was transcribed in Japanese script. In actual fact, Miss Asa Shin. It was a familiar name to me. She was a professional killer, well known among London's unsavory classes.
Oh, I see.
But she had completely vanished from existence several months before Wilson's murder. I came to the logical conclusion that she had herself been killed. And accordingly, I became fearful for the lives of the remaining 2 persons on the list.
Ah, Kei Asogi and T. Gregson.
Owing to our proximity, I decided to take measures to protect Gregson myself. But I determined it would be safest if young Asogi were to stay away from Britain.
Ah, that's why you went to such lengths to prevent his study tour from going ahead.
Exactly.
So, you already knew who Kazuma-sama was, Mr. Sholmes.
Oh yes, Sholmes and I have exchanged correspondence for years. and recounted many tales about Asogi to him in my letters, and the news of Dr. Wilson's death, of course.
Oh, yeah. You're still here, huh? Oops.
So, Dr. Wilson is dead then? I didn't know.
Oh, Iris.
I know he wasn't my daddy, but still.
Oh, okay, you do know that.
That's very sad.
I'm so sorry, Iris. We knew the significance of the name, obviously, but we just couldn't bring ourselves to tell you.
No.
What you just told us, Mr. Sholmes, doesn't completely tie in with the facts. There's one big hole in your hypothesis.
A big hole, Mr. Naruhodo.
Ah, yes. You mean about Asa Shin, I presume.
Oh, of course.
Exactly. She wasn't killed, was she? She was in Japan, posing as a visiting student under the assumed name of Giselle Brett.
I'm glad you're keeping up, my dear fellow, but I only became aware of that fact 2 days ago, the foyer of the Great Waterloo Hotel.
Ah,
And upon hearing that startling revelation, the hypothesis that I'd formed surrounding those 4 names was completely turned topsy.
What? Topsy? What do you mean when you say your hypothesis was turned topsy, Mr. Sholmes? That's not what normal people say, you fucking weirdo.
I believed all 4 names on the list to be the names of victims. However, I was mistaken. Very much so. Asa Shin was the killer. So this telegram is a list of both victims and killers, is it? Indeed. And it would seem that Miss Shin was dispatched from Britain with the sole intention of dispatching Miss Dr. Wilson. Her visiting student status being merely a front.
Ah,
which would of course explain why no motive could be determined for her actions.
wait, hang on. So based on how this is formatted, Asa Shin was the intended killer of John H. Wilson. So does that mean that Kazuma Asogi was supposed to kill Tobias? And this went out before he even showed up. That doesn't seem right. Because this was sent out before Kazuma came on his trip. So was this the reason he came to Britain? Was to kill Gregson? Why though? He would have no motivation. I don't know. That seems like a crackpot theory right now. Let's not think too much about that. We'll keep it in mind, but I doubt it.
Which would of course explain why no motive could be determined for her actions.
Yeah, he had a secret mission that he wanted to go to England. I assumed that it was just him wanting to get revenge for the professor case. But I mean, maybe it's possible that he was like a contracted killer. But if that's the case, wouldn't it make more sense for Asa Shin to kill Gregson? Because she traveled from Britain to Japan? Like, why would they swap places to kill people who were already there, right? Like, that doesn't make sense. Unless it was supposed to be like a frame job? No, that doesn't really make sense. That Asa Shin would travel across all the way to Japan to kill another guy, and Kazuma Asogi was going to travel all the way to Britain to kill someone else? That doesn't seem likely. So the real reason Dr. Wilson was killed by Asa Shin is because he was the target of an assassination.
And forearmed with that knowledge, fresh consideration of this telegram puts the list in a very different perspective.
What do you mean?
Well, does it not strike you? There was another among the 4 who subsequently became a visiting student.
Wait, You mean?
But of course, a name you know only too well.
You mean Kazuma?
How?
He did say in court earlier today. Yes, on 31st October, I accompanied Inspector Gregson to Dunkirk in order to carry out a mission. And the mission was the assassination of the Mark. I think this is a red herring still, but I don't know. It's possible.
Young Mr. Asogi accepted that mission a year ago now.
Surely not.
In conclusion, this document is a contract of sorts. An international agreement, one might say, detailing an assassin exchange.
An assassin exchange? How could Kazuma possibly have gotten involved in something like that? I don't know.
Let's assume that we have two parties, each wishing to dispose of a distinct individual. Those two parties then make a contract to swap their respective assassination targets. That would then be an assassin exchange.
I don't think I was confused about the concept.
So to begin with, the British assassin is dispatched as a visiting student to Japan, where she kills her target. And then, the Japanese assassin is dispatched as a visiting student to Britain, in order to eliminate his target. It certainly does sound like an exchange.
Yes, that is typically how exchanges work, is that one party will give something, and the other party will receive it and give something in return. Can we please get to the more pressing details? But what on earth is the point?
Don't forget, Naruhodo, that the British assassin at least escaped conviction, thanks to diplomatic immunity afforded by a consul.
Okay. Well, yeah, that would do it. That makes a lot of sense. Huh. I didn't consider that part. So that kind of clears up why they would go to a different country. Ooh, boy, that makes it much more likely. Oh, yes.
Thus, jurisdiction should be null and void under the terms of the new treaty between our two countries. The fact that it was brought into play suggests intervention at the very highest levels.
The highest levels? It's big brain time. Oh yeah. We're wrinkling up here.
These murders were two sides of the same coin, linked not by a common motive, but by contractual agreement. As such, they appeared utterly unrelated. Yet in truth, the assassins were complicit in one singular, devilish scheme. That disassociation and the safeguard of diplomatic immunity were, I believe, the motivation behind this plot. But wait a minute, Sholmes. If this telegram believes describing the exchange of assassins as you're suggesting, it would mean that the Japanese killer's target was never Seishiro Jigoku at all. It would mean Asogi's target was actually Inspector Gregson.
What? Kazuma was here for Gregson? But Judge Jigoku wasn't actually the Mark?
Yes, that's exactly what it would mean.
I hold myself personally responsible for failing to keep the inspector safe.
Mr. Sholmes.
I told him of my fears and implored him to seek a transfer to an overseas position.
Oh, that's why he was going to France.
Obviously, with the young pickpocket in tow.
Yes, Gina. Come to think of it, Inspector Gregson did mention that to us at the Great Exhibition. Had to be transferring to the Paris police and taking Gina with him.
But without informing me, he engaged in one last assignment, it seems. And sadly, it turned out to be his very last.
This is too much to take in. Jesus, what a fucking disaster.
All right, everyone, that's quite enough of all that serious talk for one day. Isn't it, Hurley? I mean, look at the time.
Ah, quite right, Iris. We must conclude our preparations for tomorrow.
What preparations?
Well, I think I shall make my way back to my hotel room now. It certainly has been a night to remember.
It is a little bit sad, though. I mean, I like the idea of you being my daddy. Because then Susie would have been my big sister.
I'm sorry, Iris.
I know, Iris. I was thinking quite the same thing. Were you? What if somebody like me would be worthy? I would be delighted to become your sister. What? Really? Oh yes, without question. So, you'll teach me all the ways you know to throw Runo to the floor? Yes, yes, of course. It would be my pleasure.
You didn't have to agree quite so readily.
Oh, but wait a minute. If Susie's going to be my big sister, you could be my big brother if you want, Runo.
Huh? I mean, yes, of course. If you'll have me, I'll gladly be your brother.
Well done, Iris. We must always be mindful of feelings. I've raised you so well.
Because being sensitive is your strong suit, naturally.
Right, I'm going to work extra hard for tomorrow now, because it's for my big brother and sister.
What is all this talk about preparing for tomorrow? Preparing what?
I'm going to blow up the courtroom. Hee, you'll just have to wait and see.
Oh.
Good luck in court tomorrow. I'm expecting a sterling performance.
I'll do my very best, of course. The overnight break in the trial's proceedings became a crucial turning point. Get the Miku pipe bomb. So cool. Exposing new truths while posing new conundrums. That list of 4 names on the telegram in Judge Jigoku's office. And the extraordinary assassination plot in which my best friend had somehow become involved. I felt as though I had been plunged into an even greater darkness all of a sudden. But at the same time, I felt sure I would see the light again soon. Because I was lucky enough to have the most wonderful family in the world standing steadfastly behind me. Aw, that's nice. And that's the stream, everybody. Hey, thanks for showing up. We're gonna pick up this next time, probably not for a bit. Friday we're gonna be busy. October, like I said, the first week we're gonna be doing the Final Fantasy stuff, so we're not gonna be able to play this for a while. But hey, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you in the next episode. Yeah, we're not stopping there. I guess we're just doing. There's no real investigation. It was just one conversation. All right, trial part 2. We'll see how long this goes. We'll probably have to cut it short in the middle. Yeah, literally just a visual novel section. 4th of November, 9:30 a.m., the Old Bailey courtroom. I mean, how else are they going to kind of have that conversation when there's nothing else to investigate about the murder? So, I get it. Before we begin today, I have a brief announcement. As with the closed trial 10 years ago, some astonishing facts have come to light in these proceedings. The revelation that the well-known Reaper is actually an organization illegally executing its own brand of justice. And the discovery that a respected yard investigator was at its heart till he himself perished in an assassination plot. Well, I say to all members of the judiciary here present on this occasion, we will stop at nothing to uncover the whole truth behind these disturbing findings. Shit's cringe as fuck. Counsels, we will undertake this trial with the resolve to pursue the truth to the bitter end. Resolve, yes. That is the name of this game. That's my intention. My lord, if I may inquire. The defendant may speak. On what grounds is Kazuma Asogi permitted to continue in his role as prosecutor? He has admitted to colluding with the victim in a plot to assassinate an innocent man. He shouldn't be enjoying the privilege of freedom, let alone be leading the prosecution. I submitted a written petition to Lord Strongheart. requesting that judgment of my transgressions be delayed by 1 day. Oh, well, I guess this is the day we finish everything then. You did what? In today's proceedings, I intend to expose everything. My whole life for the last 10 years has all been leading up to this 1 day. Kazuma. Whatever the outcome of this trial, I give my word that I will accept whatever punishment is deemed appropriate, however severe. And I suggest you prepare yourself for the same, Reaper. You like my point? I feel like it's going to become a genetic trait. Cosmo is bristling with hostility today. I get the distinct impression we're heading into very dangerous territory.
Is that really even Kazuma-sama standing before us?
As an extreme exception to normal practices, I have granted this prosecutor's request. The defense finds this acceptable, I presume. Yeah, fuck it, I guess. Yes, my lord. In that case, in the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session again. We resume the closed hearing of Barak von Zeeks. The defense is ready, my lord. The prosecution is more than ready. Very well then. This preamble has taken long enough. Prosecutor Asogi, begin. As you wish, my lord. The prosecution calls the first witness to the stand. Bring Seishiro Jigoku into the courtroom. At last then, we've reached the final battle. He's putting literally everything on the line now in order to get to the truth. Iris can't be Barak's kids, he's only interested in Japanese twinks. Maybe Iris is only half Japanese. Maybe it was a Japanese twink, we don't know. They just happen to have a vagina. It happens. It's an honest mistake. Who could have known? Come on, Ryunosuke, it's time for that steely resolve, because this is going to test it to the limit. Witness, state your name and occupation for the court.
So it was you who issued this, was it?
Or subpoena. I did what was necessary.
Well, look what the young man has become. I didn't think I'd see the day when you take that tone with me, I must say.
The witness will ensure his responses are pertinent to the questions asked.
My name is Seishiro Jigoku, a Supreme Court judge from the Empire of Japan.
16 years ago, this man came to London as a visiting student. 6 years later, he returned to Japan. As well as presiding over the Supreme Court, he is also currently Japan's Minister of Foreign Affairs. I am of course fully aware of Mr. Jigoku and his preeminent roles. I invited him personally to the International Forensic Science Symposium as a representative of his country. It's a name that rolls right off the tongue. I hear he also played a key role in the conclusion of the Anglo-Japanese Treaty of Friendship and Navigation.
It was a great honor to be involved in the negotiations. I put my all into that treaty.
Judge Jigoku, I must ask.
Well, I never. Fancy the young murdering student turning up here of all places.
You acquitted me yourself, and now I'm a practicing defense lawyer.
Yes, and full of self-importance like your friend across the courtroom, I see.
You came here to London by invitation to the International Forensic Science Symposium. It really does roll right off the tongue. But then, without informing anyone of your plans, you took flight to France.
Flight? I'd have to object to that sort of phrase.
Then explain yourself. What exactly were these circumstances?
Well, I was somewhat expecting this, and I'm sorry to say, I decline to comment.
What? You can do that?
Leaving the country prematurely when I was an invited guest may be questionable etiquette, but my decision is unrelated to this case. I can't be bound to testify.
Unrelated, you say? He's kind of got a point.
I appreciate that a respected police inspector has been killed, for which I offer my condolences. However, being an alien, I'd obviously never met the man, nor do I know the first thing about him. As such, I'm in no position to testify. It's as simple as that.
So you would run from all this?
Are you calling me chicken? I beg your pardon?
This case is more far-reaching than the murder of Inspector Gregson. It has ties to another murder, a case that was tried in Japan almost a year ago now.
A year ago in Japan, the murder of Dr. John H. Wilson, you mean? That's right. And you, Judge Jigoku, are at the heart of both cases. The defense has evidence to prove it. Well, Ryunosuke, I see from the look in your eyes that you're resolved to carry this through to the very end, too. Yes, that's why the case is named as it is. Let's see your evidence, then. What proof do you have that Seishiro Jigoku was involved in this case? The telegram?
Take that!
This is a telegram detailing a communication sent between Britain and Japan approximately 1 year ago. The communication contained 4 names: Kei Asogi, A. Shin, T. Gregson, and J. Wilson. Oh, he's pissed.
You little... Ow, that hurt. Where did you get that?
In Tokyo. From your office, Judge Jigoku.
What? How on earth did you...
What's this all about? Why is my name on that list? This list of 4 names follows a certain pattern. T. Gregson and J. Wilson are the names of victims. Kei Asogi and A. Shin are the names of assassins. No. A year ago in Tokyo, Dr. John H. Wilson's life was taken in a Western-style restaurant in the capital. The culprit was found to be a visiting student who went by the name of Giselle Brett, but her real name was Asa Shin, a professional killer sent on a mission to kill from Great Britain.
A. Shin and her victim, J. Wilson.
The murder of that just took place here in London, but was the counterpart to that crime. Mahjong Gacha has a hot, insane nurse, Unga Bunga. Funny, so does PGR. Why does that keep happening? An assassin sent from Japan, also a visiting student, Kazuma Asogi, whose victim was the British police inspector, Tobias Gregson.
Kei Asogi and T. Gregson. One assassin from each country to kill a target residing in the other.
What exactly is the defense suggesting? These 2 cases of murder, one that took place in Britain and one in Japan, were masterminded by a pair of individuals from each country as a form of assassin exchange. The telegram the defense has acquired is proof of this international contract to kill. What? He seems like he might not know what the fuck is going on. The telegram was found in your office, Judge Jigoku. In other words, the mastermind in Japan was you. Judge Jigoku, what's this all about? And you, Kazuma, you lied. During yesterday's proceedings, you acknowledged that you'd accepted the assassination mission. But the mark wasn't Judge Jigoku at all. It was T. Gregson, Detective Inspector of Scotland Yard. That's his full title? Detective Inspector? Okay. As shown by the name on the killing contract. Very impressive, Ryunosuke. But actually, I didn't lie. The name of the target I was ordered to kill never passed my lips yesterday. The idea that Seishiro Jigoku was the mark came entirely from you. You deliberately avoided saying a name. You lied. You are not, in fact, submissive and breedable, but aggressive and murderous. That's not hot at all. Well, sometimes it is. I'm getting off topic. The defense claims these 4 names indicate some sort of international assassin exchange. I'm sure I speak for all present when I say that the very idea seems utterly absurd. Well, Mr. Jigoku, what do you have to say for yourself? Silence only goes to prove his guilt.
There's another very important point that this new development brings to light. There's now a distinct possibility that the scene of Inspector Gregson's actual murder was in the witness's cabin aboard the SS Grouse.
Judge Jigoku, you have to testify now. To refuse would put you in contempt of court.
There's no need for quite such a vicious stare, young man. Very well then. As a parting gift to you all, I'll tell you everything I know.
It seems this Japanese gentleman has information that the court must hear about the alleged assassin exchange and the events of the night of the 31st October. Present your formal testimony now.
As you wish, my lord.
He's up to something. He thought for too long. He was thinking about it. Thinking about something. Formulating a plan. The assassin exchange.
It's true that Kazuma Sogi was assigned the assassination mission 1 year ago now. The target was Inspector T. Gregson. That was a condition of the British study tour.
Yeah, he was cooking.
However, in the end something happened that meant the young man was unable to carry out his mission. On the evening in question, a member of the crew was on duty outside my cabin at all times. If there had been a shot fired, the crewman would have heard it, so clearly I can't be involved.
Okay. So you admit it then, as this communication suggests. There really was an assassin exchange arrangement between Britain and Japan.
A political endeavor at the highest levels. Not something I can discuss here.
To use such a worthy practice as foreign study to coerce somebody to commit murder. It's the most appalling thing I've ever heard. Look at my sassy stance. That's how you know I'm disappointed in you.
Appalling? Well, it's easy to judge.
Pardon?
Sogi had a reason for taking his sword to that British inspector, you know.
What?
Which is why he accepted the mission in the first place. Isn't that right, Counsel?
Oh, look at that look at that smirk. You're not so upstanding as I thought you maybe were.
Kazuma-sama.
Judge Shigoku, if you are the mastermind behind this operation in Japan, then tell the court the identity of your counterpart in Britain.
I'm not obliged to divulge that information.
Yeah, I thought so. As I said yesterday, I've killed nobody. Maybe we shouldn't have trusted a judge, hell. Yeah, that's valid. I freely admit that I accepted the mission, but on the night the plan was to be executed, I backed out. In short, this assassin exchange that the defense has identified is unrelated to the events of this case.
The crucial point is this. Our police inspector can't have perished aboard that steamship in Dunkirk. Because if he'd been shot in the cabin, it's inconceivable that a member of the crew wouldn't have heard it.
That's right. Gregson was killed after returning to London, in the room on Fresno Street. Ow! And the perpetrator of the crime was the Reaper, Barak von Zeeks. The prosecution's accusation remains unchanged. To think that a seemingly innocent foreign exchange program was a facade for such Machiavellian dealings. Clearly, it's a plot only a government minister and a high-ranking judge such as the witness could hope to execute.
Well, I seem to recall that it was someone on the British side who controlled everything.
Be that as it may, it is not the place of this court to pursue this villainous assassin exchange plot. I bet you the fucking matching telegram is in his office. I bet it! We are concerned only with the tangible events pertaining to the murder of Inspector Gregson. Is the defense clear on that point, counsel? Yes, my lord. I'll keep that in mind as I cross-examine the witness. Okay. With that in mind, I'm probably going to press the last two statements first. Because I think there was a situation like this, and I want to say... I might have been Apollo Justice? I don't know. But there was one game where if you pressed statements that had nothing to do with the actual thing you were trying to figure out, you would actually take a penalty. Just from pressing it. This might be the same case, but we'll see. Alright, let's go for the last two. mission. The crew was on duty outside my cabin at all times. Let's talk about that. Outside your cabin in the first class area of the SS Grouse, you mean?
Yes, that's right. At least because there was a murder of a student passenger earlier in the year, I imagine. The liner operators have taken to posting a crewman outside every first-class cabin door.
I can confirm the presence of the crewman guard myself. What do you mean? Because I accompanied Inspector Gregson to Dunkirk that night. I witnessed it with my own eyes. There was a well-built crewman standing guard directly in front of the door to the witness's cabin.
At that particular time, of course, I'd gone to the ship's dining room for dinner.
The inspector and I asked the crewman to allow us into the cabin while we waited for Judge Jigoku's return. I suppose Inspector Gregson was there in his capacity as the Reaper. He was intending to take the witness's life. Exactly. As I've said numerous times now, I had no intention of killing anyone. So the crewman let two potential assassins into the cabin he was supposed to be guarding. Not the most convincing of centuries, really. In truth, those were my thoughts too. But anyway, I stayed to talk with Inspector Gregson for a short while, and then I left him there and made my way off the ship alone. Was the guard still at the door when you went? Yes. He glared at me as I walked past. He heard me talking shit.
You see, that proves it.
Okay. When a shot fired, the crewman would have heard it.
Hold it!
Talk about that. The crewman who was standing directly outside your cabin door, you mean?
That's right. A muscular man with a permanent grim expression on his face. He didn't once move from that spot. To be honest, I thought he was a miserable fellow. But as it happens, he's a vital witness now.
There's no doubt that Gregson was killed by a gunshot. And it's inconceivable that a crewman standing just outside the cabin door wouldn't have heard that.
But wait, what about the ship's enormous steam engines? The noise of them could have drowned out the sound of the gun being fired.
Sadly, young judicial assistant, that won't wash.
Oh,
You'll recall that my cabin was in the first class area of the ship, which is also, of course, the quietest. Don't imagine for a moment that it's anything like steerage where the judicial assistants go.
I didn't mean.
But a hole like that made by a bullet was found in your cabin, Judge Jigoku. That's compelling evidence that a gun was fired in there. What's that? A bullet hole?
Oh yes, you're talking about what the detective uncovered in the wall yesterday, I presume. That was obviously a rotten panel eaten out by a woodworm. No doubt he didn't find an actual bullet.
That's the hole in this argument.
Sadly, I was unable to arrange for the crewman to be brought back to Britain with me. But obviously, if a gun had been fired in my cabin on the night in question, as the defense implies, I would have been arrested on the spot, and would have never made it to Britain in the first place.
Very true. The witness's logic is sound. Since no gunshot was heard from the witness's cabin on the night in question, we must assume that the witness is telling the truth.
I'm glad you've seen sense, my lord.
Oh, look at that fucking smirk. I know Kazuma's already admitted to taking on this incredible assassination plot, but even so, hearing confirmed by somebody else is still a real shock.
It's unforgivable. Using Kazuma-sama's feelings to manipulate him into agreeing to such a despicable plan.
But I think Kazuma manipulated Judge Jigoku too. He completely double-crossed him.
Oh dear. It's hard not to see that as a stroke of brilliance on Kazuma-sama's part.
One way or another, though, Gregson ended up dead. I really think that murder must have happened aboard that steamship.
You mean?
Judge Jigoku must be lying.
I know I shouldn't let my emotions cloud my judgment. But you must destroy him, Mr. Norohara. Break him to pieces. Just fucking kill him.
Alright, I guess we can press on whatever we want.
Hold it!
A year ago, when Kazuma was still in Japan then.
Correct. It was at the examination center for applicants for the study tour that I approached him.
Yeah, there was a bullet hole in the room on the boat. They dismissed that because there was no bullet found, so they can't prove that it was anything in particular. We brought that up already. I'll never forget it. I remember exactly what you said. You just came out and asked me forthright if I'd consider traveling to Britain on an assassination mission.
Surely not.
I thought it was a joke at first, of course. But then, it was made clear to me that if I didn't accept, I wouldn't be considered for the study tour. So you agreed to it, just for that? I mean, I know how much you wanted to study in England, but... assassination?
Empire of Japan had accepted a proposal from the British Empire at the time. An agreement to send a student from each country to the others to deepen cultural understanding and friendship. But behind the scenes, the chosen students were to be given assassination missions. I had no choice but to accept the proposal that originated from my British counterpart.
Why? Why didn't you expose the plot there and then?
Was it because he would have exposed something about the professor case? Britain acknowledges no part in these alleged misbegotten dealings. I advise you not to make spurious allegations. Foreign Minister Jikoku.
As a witness, I am bound to tell the truth, my lord.
It was 100% strong art.
Anyway, I picked Asogi and explained the details of the plan to him.
Alright, Charles T. Gregson. Why, Kazuma? Why did you pick him as the assassin? Oh, I thought there was no comma there. Why Kazuma?
He was the most capable of all the applicants, and in addition, I knew his desire to travel to Britain was very strong. In fact, it was almost more than a desire. It was his whole purpose in life.
Yes, as his best friend, I can certainly attest to that. The way he threw himself into his studies, the way he pursued becoming qualified as a lawyer. It was all ultimately for that one single goal of being accepted on a study tour to Britain.
And of course, we know the reason behind that. He was determined to find out for himself the truth about his father, Genshin Asogi.
There's nothing I wouldn't have done to get here. Be that agreeing to assume the role of an assassin, or betraying people's trust.
Well, you certainly did a fine job of betraying mine, Asogi.
But why was Inspector Gregson the target?
I have no idea. Those were the orders from Britain. I was in no position to question them.
You have no idea. Really? I find that hard to believe.
Oh, do you?
Judge Shikoku was once a visiting student here in Britain himself, of course. Perhaps he has some connection with Inspector Gregson from that time.
Your friends really ought to catch up.
With what?
With the fact that the assassination exchange has absolutely nothing to do with the case under scrutiny here. Yes, I've already admitted to recruiting Asogi.
Excuse me? Hold it! Alright, why couldn't he do it? Probably because he died? I presume you're referring to the incident that occurred during Kazuma's passage to Britain in January. Oh, excuse me. The awful tragedy that took place on the steamship.
Word arrived at the ministry some 2 weeks after the ship's departure from our shores. The visiting student had been killed, but his body had somehow gone missing in Hong Kong. News was wired to me from a detective I'd placed on the ship to accompany the assassin.
Obviously, Kazuma didn't actually die at all. But he did lose his memory, including all details about his special mission. Did you not consider dispatching another assassin at that point?
That wasn't possible, simply because that black-clad young student over there had already put himself forward as Asogi's replacement. And there was no way to stop him from reaching Britain.
Ah. Honest, looking at my interactions in Dundorma, there's only one person I think is a bit weird. Who's that? I wasn't there for a long time, so I was just in the voice chat for a little bit.
My hands were completely tied.
So Mr. Sholmes' strategy worked. Strategy worked perfectly.
He predicted everything that would happen. Months later, my memory returned, but I'd never intended to go through with the assassination mission anyway.
So you were playing me right from the outset, were you? Is that it?
I'd sooner be guilty of that crime than of taking someone else's life. I was prepared to do whatever I had to do in order to get myself here to Britain. This line of questioning has gone on long enough. You to keep pinging new people, asking them what mech they're going. That's the one who was pushing me to allow other GMs the most. Yeah. That does make sense. Oh yeah. Yeah, I went into general chat. I saw exactly who it was immediately. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that is odd. I mean, everyone is various degrees of social ineptness, but that's to be expected from the internet. All the court should be concerned about in the testimony given by this witness are details relating to his relationship with Inspector Gregson and the victim's murder. In that case, as I've already made perfectly clear, I had no connection to the man or his death. And you have some means of substantiating this plea. That's everything pressed, so there must be a contradiction. These people I talked to there, both in and out of VC, seem pretty cool. There were, I think the time when I popped into the VC, I got kind of weird vibes, but I wasn't there for very long. I know some people are really into the RP, which always weirds me out. Okay. It was a bit awkward at first. Okay, yeah. I didn't stick around for poker. Well, chat. Nothing obvious pops up. Oh, wait, hang on. I'd really toned down some people on the Hanger Hangout channel. I had to make guidelines for that too. Oh, just like for volume or just for being weird? I sneeze. Oh, I see exactly what you added. Yeah, no, people fucking going ape shit on the, just making shit up. Yeah. Fucking main character syndrome, I've talked about it before. Everybody wants to be the guy. Happens all the time with Lancer, and I don't know why. Oh, you just nuked the channel? You just wiped it? That's pretty funny. You just had to be like, nope. Just fucking get out of here. We're not doing this. Jesus. What a mess. Okay, so I think the evacuation drill will conflict with something here. Because we don't know the time of death, but this evacuation drill would imply that the crew would have left. It's really hoping to be low maintenance like Espen. Yeah, Espen was kind of a unicorn in how cool everybody was on Espen. Everybody was very very low key on Espen, and it seems like the people on Dundorma are not. I think if I ever make like an open playtest for the Gundam stuff, I'm gonna be real obvious about main character syndrome and how I'm not gonna tolerate it, because I've seen it in too many Lancer games now. I think we checked that already. Let me in, please. Yeah, I'll let you know. I just want to, right now, before I tackle any, like, more, like, TTRPG stuff, I just want to finish my Star Wars campaign, which, in 2 weeks will be the final session of that. So that will be when I can relax and, like, possibly do, the Gundam stuff. But I can't do it until then. All my characters are just dumb boys. Yeah, your characters are memes, but they're totally fine. They're just joke characters. Those are not the ones I'm worried about. I think it's... Let me drop a save just in case. But I think it is this evacuation drill. You are making more serious characters, that's true. I mean, everybody's first characters are kind of like that. Like, even my first characters, they weren't joke characters, but there really wasn't much to them. They were very bare bones. So, you know, I think as people get, like, more experience, and especially with, like, once you do, like, a long campaign with a character, that really, like, beats the memes out of people when it comes to their characters, because when you have to roleplay a character for weeks on end, it's usually inevitable that the jokes go away. I don't know what sentence to present it on is the problem. Like my Demon Summoner Hydra Pilot? Oh yeah, that is a cool concept. I think I'll use him if I ever get into a full campaign. Makes sense. I would love to take part in a Lancer campaign, but nobody runs them. A real shame. I think the contradiction here is that there was a crewman there at all times. So I think I can present it on this.
Objection.
Got it. I know, you did try it, and it wasn't your fault that it didn't go through. It was the other people whose schedules just refused to line up. They did the classic thing of trying to get into TTRPGs without having a consistent schedule, which is just impossible. Not gonna lie, here on the last mission, that didn't go through. That was the same person twice. Yeah. That's the kind of player that, like, once you identify a flake, you pretty much have to single them out and be like, hey, look, like, you can't play the game because you're letting down everybody else. I've had to have conversations with my players about that before, of like, hey, if you're not going to respect people's time and you're constantly not going to show up, I'm going to kick you out. And thankfully, everybody got that. And we haven't had any issues. We've still had some people, like, not be able to show up or, like, just go AWOL for a session, but they knew it was their fault, so there was no issue about it. But yeah, that's why, like, session 0, I always bring that shit up of like, hey, you gotta respect other people's time. Yes, as the court has heard, there was a crewman posted outside Judge Jigoku's cabin. However, we can be sure that, contrary to the witness's claim, the guard wasn't there at all times. What? I have here a notice. A particular event that was scheduled to take place aboard the steamship on the 31st.
What? Where did you get that?
It's evidence gathered by Mr. Herlock Sholmes. You were acquainted yesterday, if you remember.
Herlock Sholmes again.
According to this itinerary, after leaving the port of Dunkirk at exactly 10 p.m. and for a period of 20 minutes, all crewmen of the SS Gross were to gather on deck for an evacuation drill. All crewmen were away from their posts. During that 20-minute interval, of course, any gunshots emanating from your cabin would have been heard by no one. After people get to LL9 and Dundorma, I might just use it to poach players I like. Trust to try and start another full campaign and slowly drop Dundorma. Yeah, honestly, that's not a bad idea. I think that's a really good plan, actually. Because that's kind of like Espen, right? It was like, there were a ton of people there, but only a handful of them were actually consistent. And were, like, cool in, well, I guess most of the people who showed up were cool. Pretty much everybody who showed up was, like, good in mission. I don't think anybody was really cringe in any way. So yeah, I think this is a good way to just, like, filter out players and figure out who's cool and who's not. Unfortunately, you do run the risk of having nobody who's cool, but I don't think that'll be the case. Oh! In summary, Judge Jigoku, you had ample opportunity to commit the crime. Urgh.
Objection.
Ow! A 20-minute window of opportunity. That's an excellent find, Rinosuke. But it amounts to nothing. I already identified at least one person through VCs. He's already in the Me and Toaster hive mind. Oh, good. Well, I said that someone who's not cringe, and you're all cringe, so my point stands. It amounts to nothing. Why? because the witness clearly stated in his testimony that no incident occurred in his cabin. Unless you have some decisive evidence that can show his testimony to be false. Or accusation is nothing more than conjecture. Very true. Well, counsel. Do we have evidence? Inspector Gregson was killed in Judge Jigoku's cabin that night. I'm certain of it. Because the defense has the evidence to prove it. You will present the evidence for the defense at once, counsel. What proof do you have that the victim's life was taken in Jigoku's cabin on the 31st of October? Oh, the small component. That's right. We do have it. I totally forgot we had this.
Take that!
Judge Jigoku, this was found in your cabin yesterday. What is that? The crown of a pocket watch. A pocket watch? And if you will observe, the victim's pocket watch, which we know he treasured, is missing precisely that part. It can't be. Moreover, this crown is a perfect fit on the spindle protruding from the victim's watch. Now, the fact that this was retrieved from Judge Jigoku's cabin tells us that the victim's watch almost certainly broke there. In other words, the victim was killed on the 31st during the 20-minute evacuation drill in the cabin occupied by you, Judge Jigoku.
Well, you're razor sharp, aren't you, you young murderer?
Did you not accuse me of murder in a court of law? Expertly maneuvered, Rinosuke. And your argument sounds entirely plausible. At first. But rather like this pocket watch, it's full of cracks. What? And I believe Judge Jigoku feels the same way. Well, that's not a face I like to see.
I was wrong to acquit you earlier in the year.
Sorry?
If I'd known that it resulted in anyone having to listen to this drill, I would have declared you guilty just to spare the world your ridiculous bombast.
Alright, well that's not cool. I think it's clear. Want to know what else is full of cracks? Your heterosexuality? That the witness will have to give further testimony.
You hear what actually happened in my cabin that night? You'll notice the pitfall on which you've stumbled.
The human body? True. Prior to your renewed testimony, I would like to clarify one point. The fact that this part of the victim's watch was discovered in your cabin means that you acknowledge she was there, I presume.
Yes, I do.
Very well then. You may proceed to give your formal testimony about what exactly happened in your cabin aboard the ship on the evening of the 31st October.
Of course. As a man of the law, I have no intention of obstructing justice, even though I literally just said that I would have unlawfully declared someone guilty just because it would be more convenient for me. Just ignore that part.
Alright, the events in the cabin.
I had a guest waiting for me when I returned to my cabin after finishing my evening meal in the dining room. When I walked through the door, a mustachioed Englishman was there, foolishly waving a gun at me. I soon took care of him with an ippon seo throw, though couldn't wait to run after that. I imagine his watch was broken when I threw him over my shoulder. It has nothing to do with his murder. The inspector was clearly killed having returned to Britain, because his body was found in London.
Ippon Seoi.
A common jujutsu...
Is it not jujitsu?
A jujutsu martial arts technique in my country. I was careful not to use too much force, but the man obviously landed too heavily for his watch to take.
So, Rinosuke Naruhodo, I imagine you can see the flaw in your logic now, can't you? What? The fact that the pocket watch was broken in the witness's cabin in no way proves that the victim's murder took place there. Ah! Yeah, that tracks.
I've no doubt the inspector intended to kill me, but he didn't manage to pull the trigger.
Yes, because he was merely the tactician, not the Reaper's hand of death. Well, the testimony appears to make perfect sense as far as I can tell.
Let me express my deep gratitude for your understanding, my lord.
But if this testimony holds, Judge Jigoku will be deemed to have no involvement in the case. Well, counsel, I really see no reason for wasting precious court time here on a cross-examination. Sorry, my lord. The defense has a right to cross-examine, and I don't intend to squander that.
You're an embarrassment to your countrymen, not knowing when you're beaten.
I'm pretty sure Japan historically has had real troubles knowing when they're beaten. That's kind of like the Japanese spirit is to never say die. Kind of a weird line from a very Japanese man. Anyways, in that case, proceed, Mr. Naruhodo. Alright, well. Yeah, they would rather die before they surrender. What a very un-Japanese take from you, Mr. Jigoku. That was a good waffle. Anything stand out here? Couldn't wait to run away after that. Has nothing to do with his murder. Victor was clearly killed and returned to Britain because his body was found in London. Okay, I'm just gonna press everything because nothing particular stands out as I should look more into that. Because the so-called guard posted at your cabin door had just let your killer pass, you mean?
Apparently, Gregson told the crewman he was a police inspector. Which was the truth, of course.
He wouldn't have had his identification with him, though.
He had his trench coat and mustache, not to mention the bag of chips. I imagine the crewman was convinced.
The man accompanying him would have had two swords two sword? Another typo. There's a lot of typos in this final case. It seems like this was the case they clearly did last because it has the least amount of QA on it. We've identified a number of typos. He would have had two swords slung around his waist. You mean two swords? Plural. You mean me? Who else?
Yes, that's true. I would have hoped the sight of a few swords might have set off alarm bells in the guard's head.
The point is, I left the cabin before its occupant returned, and I immediately disembarked the ship.
Certainly, all I can tell you is that only the inspector was waiting for me when I arrived back in my cabin.
And you entered without any inkling of suspicion?
That's right. None whatsoever.
Okay.
Hold it!
How suspicious did you feel after you entered the room? Obviously, you're talking about Inspector Gregson.
Yes, though at the time, I didn't know the man's name. There's no time for introductions. I value my life over manners.
By which you mean that the inspector was there to assassinate you, I suppose.
That was certainly the impression given by the gun pointing in my direction. But I've never seen the muzzle of a revolver shake about so much in all my life. Anyone would think the man had never shot somebody before.
Believe it or not, most of us haven't.
Anyway, there was no time to call for the help of the crewman at the door, so I dealt with the man myself.
Okay.
Hold it!
Ippon Sei. Even though the man had a gun? That was a very brave move, wasn't it?
My Ippon Seoi is far faster than a bullet, I can assure you.
Surely all that commotion caused the crewman to come in, didn't it?
Yes, of course. He burst in immediately without knocking. The inspector hurled himself at the stocky fellow and just managed to slip past him to make his escape.
The outstanding guard does it again.
Luckily, there aren't many situations I can't get out of using a quick Ippon Seoi throw.
Okay. Put the watch. Whoops. Daisy.
Hold it!
The crown snapped off and the glass covering the face of the watch was cracked.
Preferable to the man's head being pulled off or his spine cracking, wouldn't you say?
Not that the man was spared for long. A bullet to the chest soon saw to that. But the point is, the broken pocket watch doesn't prove that a murder took place.
Absolutely not. All the watch proves is the power of my jujutsu throw.
Whatever you say, it doesn't quite ring true that no shot was fired in that cabin. Because there was an obvious bullet hole in the wall.
What are you talking about? That's what the star of your lowbrow detective stories told you, is it? Well, I don't care for such fiction. Haven't you worked it out yet, you little stripling? No murder took place in my cabin.
Hold it!
There's no evidence that proves the victim ever returned to London alive.
Just take a moment to think that idea of yours through now, stripling. I keep using that word, but I don't know how to pronounce it.
What?
If the inspector was killed on the steamship in France, how on earth could he have got back to Britain? When people die, their bodies remain at that same spot. It's a devil of a thing.
Well, then, obviously the culprit must have moved the body.
How exactly? Carrying a corpse off a ship in your arms would raise a few eyebrows at least, don't you think?
Well, yes, that's true, but all passenger luggage is inspected when it is unloaded from arriving vessels. I would like to think that the border police would query the corpse of an English gentleman as hand luggage. If the murder had taken place aboard the ship, you would imagine the body there would have been disposed of at sea. There would be no sense in risking being caught by attempting to transport the body back to Britain. That's killed that idea then.
But perhaps not.
Mr. Sato?
We've heard that the first-class passengers were under constant scrutiny by the crewmen posted to guard them, which would mean that the culprit had no opportunity to dispose of the body at sea.
Yes, that's true. So transporting the body to Britain may have been the only viable alternative.
Dear me, you really are new to this, aren't you? I thought I'd been perfectly clear, but it seems I'm going to have to explain it in words you can understand. I think I had to alter my testimony. With your consent, of course, my lord.
I have no objection. State your amended testimony now. Here we go.
There's no possible way I could have transported the victim's corpse back to Britain.
Hold it!
Well, I don't know about that. There's an idea.
Think about it, stripling. All passengers and crew disembarked at the same time and passed through the same checks at the border. The symposium guests were then driven straight to the hotel in carriages organized by the ministry.
And we met you as soon as you arrived at the hotel.
So you did? Well then, remind me, did I have a corpse over my shoulder at the time?
You had your fucking luggage. What? No.
So we're in agreement then. I couldn't possibly have brought the inspector's body back to Britain. Unless, of course, they've developed some clever device these days to instantly move things from A to B.
Funny you should say that.
Professor Harebrain's invention didn't actually work, if you remember, Mr. Naruhodo.
Yes, of course. The defense has become unusually quiet, I notice.
Yes, because there's really nothing more to say.
So that's his story.
Well, I suppose if you think about it, whenever you drop a teacup in the office and it breaks, we don't say, Mr. Naruhodo must have been murdered there, do we?
Is that a veiled threat about what might happen to me if I break another one?
And the fact is that Inspector Griggs's body was found in the little room on Fresno Street.
You didn't answer the question.
If he really was killed in Judge Jigoku's cabin,
Body would have been moved somehow. Or would have to have been moved somehow, obviously. Transporting a dead body over a country border. That would be impossible for the majority of people. There must have been some special circumstances that made it possible for the culprit.
that could be a vital realization, I think, Mr. Naruhodo.
Okay. Was it the symposium? Let's see what we have. Evacuation drill, great sword, Irish's lucky charm, autopsy report, passport, Grayson's trunk, Sogi papers. Is there a way? Saw that already. That's just the ticket about the SS Buria. If only I had his luggage as part of the evidence. That'd really help. Unfortunately, I do not. Passports. No, that doesn't help me. This is absolutely pointless. Oh, we have this. Oh my God, his body was in the picture. I forgot about this. This is exactly what we need.
Objection.
Got him. You fool! You acted like a tourist and now you're wanted for murder. There's no possible way you could have moved Inspector Gregson's body, you say? I would say the opposite is true.
And what's that supposed to mean?
Far from being impossible for you to do. The transporting of Inspector Gregson's body back to Britain is something only you could do. What are you talking about, Ryunosuke? As well as being a judge, Mr. Jigoku is also Japan's Minister of Foreign Affairs. Which means he's exempt from having his luggage searched when he enters the country. Okay, I didn't know that, but hey, this helps. I don't think... Was that listed on there? Nope. Cool. Anyways. Still, pointing to the luggage is important. We learned that when we first met you upon your arrival in London. You're cute, can I get your number? No, but I'm here 4 times a week. There's an email.
Well, those passport checks and luggage searches at the border took rather a lot of time. I must say, I'm very envious of your ministerial status. You didn't have to go through any of that, did you? I knew you were just jealous.
I presume you recall this, Judge Jigoku. There's a pipe bomb hidden somewhere within a yard of your current location. Uh-oh. Have fun being on a government list, Waffle. Another government list. It's a photograph we took in the foyer of the hotel to mark the occasion. As the court will note, you have with you your large travel trunk. Large enough, in fact, to have a corpse inside.
Mr. Naruhodo, surely you're not suggesting...
Tsunemi's finding it right now. I'm afraid I am, yes. 3 days ago, when we were chatting innocently with the new arrivals from Japan in the hotel, the body of Inspector Gregson was just meters away from us, inside Judge Jigoku's trunk. Damn. Order, order, order in the court. That's the incorrect... Is there a variant spelling of skeptical? I thought it was a K. There might be okay with a C. I'm skeptical, counsel, that a grown man's body could fit inside even the largest travel trunk. It could. Because I happen to know that the witness himself, a man of considerable size, fits inside his trunk. And verifying that would be extremely simple. Wouldn't it, Judge Jigoku?
What inside his trunk? How horrifying!
And after we'd spoken with you at the Great Waterloo Hotel, we had the opportunity to visit the apparent scene on Fresno Street, taking your trunk with you in a cab to deposit the inspector's body.
I don't have to listen to this nonsense.
Dr. Gori, the coroner who examined the body, has confirmed the possibility. He's acknowledged there are signs that steps may have been taken to disguise the true time of death. K is American spelling, C is British spelling. Okay. That's what I thought. The onset of the body's decomposition could have been delayed by storing it in a refrigerator.
Council, as I remember explaining yesterday, refrigerators of the requisite size are few and far between.
Yes, I'm sure they are. But one place they're certainly found is on large ocean liners. Such ships are equipped with electrically refrigerated cold rooms to keep food fresh on their long sea voyages. And the SS Grouse is no exception. Professor Mikotoba told me about it only yesterday. Well, Judge Jigoku, however much you prolong this debate, you can't eliminate the truth that my fucking hand is broken. All the evidence points to you being the killer.
Well, this is all very heartening. I can see that it was a wise move, letting Asogi and you embark on this study tour.
What are you talking about now?
Logical reasoning, of course. All court proceedings will be built on logical reasoning in the new century. Because they definitely weren't before now. And I can see that you've both laid firm foundations for that already.
Judge Jigoku, please, stop diverting attention from the issue at hand. The defense has made an accusation against you. How do you respond?
Respond? There's no need for me to respond, is there?
Why ever not?
Because before you can even begin to answer the question of when the victim was killed, you must first establish one key fact.
Motive. Oh,
Where was the victim killed? It's quite logical. Motive is the other thing. You don't have to worry about that yet. That's the thing that you literally prove that a thing happened in a place, but until you provide motive, the case isn't over yet, for some reason.
the actual scene of the crime. The prosecution's stance is unaltered. The killing took place on Fresno Street where the gunshot was heard. As the accused, Barak von Zeeks shot the victim at point-blank range. Since no tangible evidence exists to disprove the prosecution's claim at this time, the defense's deductions amount to little more than an elaborate fairy tale.
I'm afraid that's how the logical reasoning the British are known for really works, young stripling.
The victim was shot in that little room on Fresno Street and died instantly. I'm afraid it's the prosecution's claim. That's the only fairy tale here. How can you say that? Quite simply, because that claim directly contradicts a certain piece of evidence in our possession. Very tantalizing, counsel. I think you had better explain yourself to the court, don't you? Prosecution claims that Inspector Gregson died instantly when he was shot at the scene on Fresno Street. But this evidence clearly contradicts that claim. Okay. I remember this coming up before, and I can't remember what evidence proves it. I love the sound of Strongheart's gavel. It is good. Very punchy. Was it the picture? No. Oh, what was it? This definitely came up before, and I can't remember what the hell it was. Configure, revolver. Airpiece, not that. Oh, was it the candelabrum? No, that doesn't prove that he didn't die instantly. Just proves when the gunshot went off. Somebody's asked me something I haven't thought of yet. The star system Dondorma's in? Oh. I mean, can you reasonably find out that information? Yeah, I guess you just make something up. Fucking get a name generator. Fucking let me introduce you to fantasynamegenerator.org. It's saved my life. Oh, it's the autopsy report, isn't it? Time of death indeterminate. Oh no, that's time of death. We don't know that he didn't die instantly. Okay, no, that doesn't help me. It's in Shroud. Oh, good. I'm sure nobody will notice that one. The handprint is not his. Died instantly when he was shot at the scene on Fresno Street. It might be this photograph. At this point, I'm just gonna make it obvious. I don't care anymore. Yeah, lean into it. It's a design. It's intentional. It's part of the charm. I think it's the photograph. I forget. We established this already, and I forget what it was specifically. It's been too long. I think we did anyways. I'll present this and see what happens.
Take that!
Okay, it was. A photograph of the victim in the very location you claim he wasn't killed. Yes! But the point is the posture of the body itself. Oh. Oh, I guess that makes sense. Yeah, okay, I can see that. Inspector Gregson had been shot there in that room. It's out of the question that his body would have been curled up in a ball like that.
I'm sorry to disappoint you, but your logic is flawed. You'd easily have adopted that fetal position due to the pain of the shot, which subsequently proved fatal.
Protection!
I'm sorry to disappoint you, Judge Shigoku, but it's your logic that is flawed.
What?
According to this autopsy report, the victim died instantly. He would have felt no pain, much less been able to draw himself into that position.
Ah!
Because I did plan Dendorma to be around unincorporated planets, they trade agricultural goods with nearby planets. So I don't know why I didn't think of a star system. I mean, why would that information ever be pertinent to your average player? Never came up in Espen. I guarantee Ryan didn't think about it, because who fucking cares? Which begs the question of why the victim's body is curled up in that way. Though the answer should be abundantly clear by now. You're suggesting. The inspector's body took on that posture ahead of its arrival on Fresno Street, before it was coldly turned out on the floor. From the inside of a large travel trunk. No!
You're quite right. The shape of the body. It looks exactly as if it had been kept in a confined space.
Judge Jigoku, present your trunk for examination. I believe it's very possible that it will contain traces of the victim's blood.
Owie! Present my trunk. I refuse.
What? On what grounds?
I'm the Minister of Foreign Affairs from the Empire of Japan. I shouldn't have to put up with this treatment just because of some stripling's baseless accusations.
In other words, Judge Shigoku, there is blood in your trunk.
I decline to answer that. As the Minister of Foreign Affairs, I have privileges that allow me to...
Oh! At this moment, you're not a government minister. You are a witness in a trial in Britain's highest court. I don't care who you are or what your status outside this courtroom might be. You will not withhold information. Get him. Nothing is more important than the truth. We're going in, baby. Order in the court. Well, Mr. Jigoku, what's it to be? You can't be serious. You did it.
Have you no shame at all, Kazuma Suki?
What?
Very well, I admit it. I did bring the inspector's body into the country. Inside my trunk, exactly as postulated by the defense.
What? You? Dear God. Outrageous. So it was you. You would...
No! I admit to nothing more than I've broken my fucking hand. How do you keep doing that? I admit to nothing more than what I've said. Of killing the man, I certainly have no recollection.
What on earth is that cryptic statement supposed to mean?
I merely disposed of the inspector's body, which was left in my cabin, in order to avoid unwanted attention. As the judicial assistant over there pointed out, I had no chance to throw it into the ocean. So, I decided my only option was to bring it into Britain with me and dispose of it somewhere else.
You can't still deny it. If you didn't do it, then who on earth did kill the man?
As you know, there was one other person in my cabin that night. He had the opportunity. And moreover, he'd already accepted a mission to take the inspector's life.
I fucking knew it. I knew he was gonna turn this back around on Asogi.
Oh,
That's right. Who else could it have been? It was you, Kazuma Asogi.
You. Oh, I never thought you'd stoop to this, Seishiro Jigoku.
You've taken the words straight out of my mouth, Prosecutor Kazuma Asogi. You thought by leaving the body in my cabin you could pin the crime on me, did you?
Well, the prosecution counsel was already admitted to visiting the witness's cabin on the night in question.
Yes, on an assassination mission, no less.
You wouldn't.
So what do you make of that, young stripling? You've heard my testimony now, and that's all I have to say on the matter. I'll admit to nothing more.
I don't believe this.
Counsel for the defense, what is your position now? The court awaits your response to the witness's assertion. The assertion that on the night in question, the victim's assailant was in fact Mr. Kazuma Asogi. This isn't the dead end it seems to be. The answer's right in front of me. It comes down to Jigoku, or Kazuma. Both of them had the opportunity to kill Gregson, but only one of them did it. And I'm just a step away from proving who. Very well. The defense is ready to respond to the assertion put forward by Judge Jigoku. Well, he also wasn't going to name a mountain range Midgard, the online hub in the original Monster Hunter. The idea that the victim's murder could have been committed by Prosecutor Asogi is... impossible. Right? Yeah. Ow! Judge Jigoku, let me remind you of something you said only a few minutes ago. You claim that logical reasoning is the future of the judicial process.
It is, no question.
Well, logical reasoning can prove something here. Namely, that it would have been impossible for Prosecutor Asogi to commit the crime. Oh, they're playing the... I love this fucking track. I love the prelude to the Pursuit theme. It's so good. I hope that every Ace Attorney game going forward has this setup. Because it's perfect. It's so hype.
What?
The court will only accept an argument that is supported by compelling evidence. So present what you have, counsel. What proof is there that allegedly demonstrates the impossibility of Prosecutor Asogi's involvement? Alright, I don't actually know what piece of evidence I have. Gonna be honest. Is it a sword? No. The evacuation drill. The trunk has the tip of his sword in it. That doesn't prove anything. It's not the gun, is it? What would that prove? How would this relate to Asogi? I don't think it would. Fingerprints on said gun? Unfortunately, this game is set before fingerprint identification is a thing. Otherwise, you'd be 100% right. Although this being Ace Attorney, his fingerprint, the defendant's fingerprints would be on the gun because that's always how it goes. Literally every time there's a murder weapon, it's like, oh yeah, the defendant's prints are on the gun. Or on the weapon. Oops. Every time. Yeah, I know. Gosh darn Victorian Britain, or whatever time period this is. I mean, we haven't presented the gun yet. It might be the gun. This is kind of a Hail Mary, but we have a lot of life here, so I might just go for it. Let's try it.
Take that!
Oh no, that was wrong. You're making the evidence weep here, Reinosuke Naruhodo. Sorry? Every piece of evidence has a role to play in arriving at the truth. They're not playing things you can toss around the courtroom for entertainment. Ah! Alright, that wasn't it.
Never mind the evidence. You're about to make me weep, Mr. Naruhodo.
Oh no, I can't upset Susato-san, or I'll end up being upset too. We know a member of the crew was on sentry duty outside the first-class cabins nearly all the time. So as long as the guard was there, it would have been impossible to fire a shot without it being heard. And that very much narrows down when the crime could have been committed. I'm sorry. Oh, no worries. Your suggestion was not the reason why I sent the gun out. It was truly just like, well, we haven't used this yet. So how did he get the gun? Maybe it's it. Very much narrows down when the crime could have been committed. Okay, so it is the evacuation drill, I think. Because he would have left, I think? I was in the shower, also had another idea for a campaign that takes advantage of the fact that Ra's just teleporting Deimos, kidnapping people, and making machines malfunction. It is doing that, yeah. It's true. Yeah, I think it's this, right? He wouldn't have had the opportunity to be alone with him. Right?
Take that!
Okay, yeah. This itinerary for crew members of the SS Grouse, my lord. This is conclusive proof. An itinerary. How does that prove anything? Oh, Judge Shigoku, the moment you acknowledge that you found the victim's body in your cabin, this itinerary suddenly became much more significant. What? Why? On the night in question, as always, a crewman sentry was on guard outside your cabin door. As long as he was there, nobody could have fired a shot inside the cabin. Absolutely, because it's inconceivable that the guard wouldn't have heard it and come to investigate. So that tells us that the crime must have taken place when the guard was elsewhere. And that narrows it down to the 20 minutes just after 10 o'clock, as indicated on the itinerary. Yes, I see no flaw in your reasoning so far. But the crucial point is this. When the evacuation drill took place, the steamship had already put to sea from the port in Dunkirk. Oh yeah, that's right! Totally forgot about that. Now, clearly the murder could only have been committed by someone who was aboard the vessel at the time. The prosecutor Asogi stated in yesterday's proceedings, I didn't come to Great Britain to take anyone's life, so I left Gregson and disembarked the ship. I spent that night at a boarding house in the town and returned to England the following morning. Which I'm sure the court will agree is conclusive proof that Kazuma Asogi couldn't possibly have carried out the killing. Yes! We got him. No, absolutely not. I don't accept that at all. What do you mean? The boy's just saying that to exonerate himself. We can't trust that he really disembarked the vessel. Obviously, after he left my cabin, he hid himself somewhere nearby on the ship. Just waiting for his chance to come back and finish the... No, that's out of the question. Isn't it, Kazuma? As the defense rightly recalls, I disembarked the vessel and spent the night in a boarding house in Dunkirk. And as I said yesterday, I signed my name in the accommodations register book. All extremely easy to verify and undeniable proof. No, There's no escape this time. You can forget that you're a judge or a government minister. It's time you gave the court an honest answer, as a common man. Oh, we're breaking him down. You killed Inspector Tobias Gregson and transported his corpse back to Britain. Then you dumped the body in the room on Fresno Street and made it look as if the murder had happened there. That's what really happened, isn't it? Seishiro Jigoku. Breakdown?
It was that damn trial 10 years ago. That's when this all began. Looking back now, my fate was decided that day. I was doomed already.
You gonna rip the fucking thing off?
Ah!
Oh my god! Oh, Jesus! He's going Super Saiyan.
It's over! My life is over!
Jesus. Well, we finally got a good one. Short and sweet, but, hey. Still pretty good.
British assassin to eliminate a professor in Japan. A Japanese assassin to eliminate a detective in Britain. Both assassins will use diplomatic immunity to evade conviction and return safely to their homelands. The assassin exchange request arrived from Britain about 1 year ago. Though it was hardly a request, it was a demand.
And for that, you decided to recruit Mr. Rasogi. But things didn't go according to plan. Your chosen assassin never made it to Britain. And you found yourself unable to dispatch a replacement. Because I was already on my way to Britain at that time in Cosmo's place.
And that left me with only one option for carrying out my obligation. Eliminate the mark myself, personally. Of course, there was but a single opportunity for me to do that.
The International Forensic Science Symposium. That name rolls right off the tongue, I presume.
That's right. I decided it would be safest to carry out the plan before my arrival in Britain. So I enlisted the help of my British counterpart. And made arrangements for a pretext that would take the inspector to Dunkirk. To lure the man in, he was given a sham mission by the Reaper.
What? The Reaper? Oh, but there's only one person who could have done that. The mastermind of the entire operation. The Reaper himself.
Ah. So, that means that the assassin exchange was all planned by the Reaper.
I'm not at liberty to say anything about my British counterpart. Anyway, the inspector accepted the Reaper's mission and dutifully infiltrated my cabin on the steamship. It was all a trap designed to lead him to France and his own death.
Oh, how awful.
It was past 9 o'clock when I returned to my cabin from the dining hall that evening. I didn't give him time to attack me. I choked him until he lost consciousness. But there was a guard just outside the door, so I left it at that for the time being. Even the slightest noise might have aroused suspicion, so I bided my time waiting.
The 20 minutes after 10 o'clock.
I had intended to finish him by strangulation. Moments before I had the chance, he suddenly came round and went for me in a reckless move. I received the British issue gun 16 years earlier, being a member of the judiciary as a visiting student. I never imagined I'd have to use it for something like that.
So the revolver belongs to you, does it? Damn. And the victim was killed inside your cabin on the SS Grouse, which begs the question of why you arranged for his body to be discovered in the room on Fresno Street.
The young judicial assistant over there has already answered that question. There was no way I could take the body up on deck to throw it over the side. That's precisely where all the crewmen were gathered for the evacuation drill. Before the first-class cabin sentries returned, I took the corpse to the refrigeration room.
And then on arriving in Dover, you concealed the body in your trunk in order to smuggle it past the border police.
I knew I needed to take steps if the police were to be convinced when the body was found in London.
In that case, you must have known. You must have had intimate details of Inspector Gregson's intended schedule.
Yes, my British counterpart sent me everything I needed to know. The inspector was due at Fresno Street at 5 o'clock that afternoon. in order to meet a man by the name of Hugh Boone, from whom he would take back his police identification.
Ah,
I decided that man would be the perfect person to set up as the culprit. So I took a hackney carriage over there with the body still in my trunk.
that must have been just after we took this photograph with you in the hotel then.
Yes, I wasn't expecting a welcome committing. I was more than a little nervous. On Fresno Street, I spotted a young girl selling little firecrackers.
Miss Venus, of course.
I conceived of the candle trick there and then. So I donned a simple disguise and approached the girl to buy enough firecrackers to replicate a gunshot.
What sort of disguise?
For some reason, the inspector had a bright red hairpiece in his own traveling case. So I put that on, although I suspected I drew more attention to myself in that than I would have otherwise.
The hairpiece we found at the scene. The inspector had it ready for the Red-Headed League investigation.
I only arrived at the room around 4:45. I quickly placed the body on the floor, moved the notice board, and set up my little candle trick. I arranged it so the firecrackers would go off with a bang around 15 minutes later.
So that Mr. Boone, who was due to arrive at 5, would walk straight into a trap.
Except, at the last moment, I made a careless blunder.
What was that?
I imagine it was the bag of fish and chips.
Ah,
I didn't notice that it had fallen out of his overcoat pocket when I moved the body to the refrigeration room. I put it back into his pocket the following morning, but... well, seems the warmth of the heated cabin had accelerated the decay of the fish. Anyway, that's
God, he's wide.
everything. All the sort of details of what I did.
Okay, well, that doesn't answer everything, but at least we know who killed Gregson. His fish and chips addiction helped solve his murder. Absolutely correct. 100%. I've heard enough. You've arrived at the truth about the murder of one of the country's most capable and respected police inspectors. The witness will be tried in the coming days. For a crime of such a vile nature, you can expect the most severe penalty. But who's his British counterpart? We need to know.
An exchange of assassins. What a foolhardy idea.
Mr. Jigoku, one last detail. Realize something, I think like fictional characters who are batshit insane and will probably murder me. Oh, I think I like I gotcha. No, that's not unique. There's a lot of people like that. Why? Great question. It's why we have the saying, don't stick your dick in crazy, but it just keeps happening. Mr. Jigoku, one last detail. Who was your counterpart in Britain? Who was the mastermind behind the assassin exchange? You can't say. Nothing you say now can make matters any worse for you. Just tell us.
Enough! I've already told you that I cannot say.
Even though as things stand, you may very well never set foot in your homeland again. I'll stick my dick in crazy, and if someone wants to fuck me, they want to stick their dick in crazy. I guess if both parties are crazy, then it kind of evens out.
What are you waiting for? Can't we get this over with now? It's finished. All of it. I'm finished.
Then, in the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I now pronounce the findings of this court. This man before us is admitted to the willful murder of Tobias Gregson. Ishiro Jigoku, it is the opinion of this court that you should be found.
Damn.
And may I remind all those present of the strict confidentiality demanded by this closed court. Wow, no victory fanfare for that one. Not a happy ending. Moments ago, Mr. Jigoku signed a written confession.
admitting to the murder of Inspector Gregson and the subsequent conveyance of the body. In short, the defendant's innocence has therefore been established beyond doubt.
Oh, wonderful. Well done, Mr. Naruhodo.
Yes, thank you.
Is something wrong?
Him ripping out the railings for the witness stand was badass, but I wish it was more considering there were no breakdowns in this game. Yeah, that doesn't make up for the lack of breakdowns in this. It was good, but not enough to undo all the previous lack of breakdowns. But we're definitely not done yet. There's more to come. So I'm 100% expecting a big finale for another breakdown. For who? I don't know. I'm just a little troubled by his silence. Yeah, that would have been a made breakdown in other games.
The true identity of the Reaper of the Bailey in this extraordinary assassin exchange.
Well, actually, that's not true. Mid breakdowns usually aren't that crazy. They're usually just them, like, changing appearance. His was, like, decent for, like, pretty good for most breakdowns. I think you're forgetting a lot of the early breakdowns weren't all that spectacular. Like, Luke Atme comes to mind. He literally just laughed. That was all he did. Oh, mid is in the other mid. I gotcha. I still disagree. I think it would have been better than mid in other games. Like, there were a lot of good breakdowns in, like, Dual Destinies and Spirit of Justice, but, like, a lot of the early games were not ideal. They were pretty mediocre. Hey, Doppel. Just got back. Why Strongheart the judge? This is a secret trial that he is presiding over. For reasons. It's been at least 6+ years since I played most of the series, yeah. I played them, like, semi-recently. Like, I played the first game again with Matt, like, I think 2 years ago or so. And yeah, like, they're decent, but, like, they're not that good. Like, even the final case, Von Karma, is literally just him hitting his head into the wall. And Powers is him just laughing and clapping, which he already does. So, it's not nearly as good as some of the best breakdowns. Like, Dual Destiny's at the best, but the bar is pretty low.
We do remain in the dark about these mysteries. However, insofar as the indictment brought against the defendants in this trial, we have reached a conclusion.
Did the DS trilogy in, like, middle school? Yeah.
I have every intention of pursuing both mysteries. As a prosecutor. As you wish. Now for the formal education. I hereby declare the defendant, Barak von Zieks.
Objection!
I knew it wasn't over here. I knew there was no way that Cosmo was going to let it happen.
The prosecution calls for education to be deferred. Counsel? Oh, the accused's innocence hasn't been fully established at all. And therefore, it would be wrong to deliver a verdict at this time. That is the prosecution's unwavering position.
I now realize how long I've been a Capcom fan. What?
What? Judge Shigoku was already confessed.
Nevertheless, Barak von Zieks has committed crimes for which he must be punished. Well, it would appear you have information that the court needs to hear, Prosecutor Risogi. Certainly, the murder of Inspector Gregson was actually carried out by Seishiro Jigoku. But it's clear from the witness's testimony that he was coerced into complying with the plot. Into this sick, merciless assassin exchange. That may be true, but... So what I want to know is, who coerced Jigoku? Who was pulling the strings? The victim went to France having been ordered on a mission from the Reaper, only to be murdered. In other words, the mastermind behind the assassin exchange is someone in position to give such an order. As we've already established, the Reaper himself. Well, certainly that would appear to follow. The prosecution hereby formally accuses the man in the dock, Barak von Zieks, of being the Reaper of the Bailey, and furthermore, I'm going to prove his guilt beyond all reasonable doubt. What? Order, order, order. The Reaper of the Bailey is a long-standing mystery, Council. Are you suggesting you have some new information with which to build a case?
Scotland Yard has already investigated Lord Van Zieks very thoroughly in that regard.
I vote Strongheart to be the true Reaper. I think you're correct. I'm suspecting him as well. I've been suspecting him for a while. And given that he would also be in a position to give those orders as head minister or whatever.
And they found no evidence whatsoever to substantiate the claim that he is the Reaper.
Perhaps, but circumstances have now changed.
What do you mean?
It's already been established that the Assassin Exchange was negotiated with Jigoku by the Reaper himself. Which means we now have a new line of questioning by which to identify definitively the man's identity. That is the prosecution's intention here. I must say I'm surprised by quite how tenaciously you appear to want to besmirch my name.
Eyelash. It's a private court, but you still have a gallery. Well, members of the judiciary are allowed to attend, but they're all sworn to secrecy because they didn't want to have to change the sprites.
You are guilty of an unforgivable crime, Lord Van Zieks. Ow! And I will bring you to justice for it, whatever it takes.
That explains Kazuma's silence before. We'll stop at nothing to finish what Lord Van Zieks unwittingly started 10 years ago.
Very well. Whilst it's extremely irregular, I will on this occasion grant the prosecution further opportunity for witness testimony. The defendant will disclose any and all involvement he had with the Reaper and the Assassin Exchange. I thank you, my lord, for guiding the court so wisely. I hereby declare this court to be in session for a supplementary hearing.
Here we go again.
Pray turn a blind eye to this discourtesy as I verify that this vile and unremitting accusation hasn't soured the contents of my hallowed chalice.
Lord Van Zieks.
I first had to suffer the pseudonym of the Reaper 10 years ago now, and ever since that time I've endured the weight of implied guilt that's gone with it. So I welcome the chance to testify now, and crush those allegations once and for all. Good. Then let justice decide, Lord Van Zieks. The prosecution seeks to begin building its case by calling the accused to the stand as the primary witness, in order that he may answer the accusation brought by the prosecution that he is the Reaper of the Bailey. And what says the defense?
Putting the defendant in the witness stand can be extremely dangerous. And Kazuma-sama is so emotional at the moment, he's not thinking logically.
You're right that he's not himself, but I knew it would be like this. And I came here today determined to face him through whatever might arise. As a lawyer and as his friend.
And that's what we must do.
Oh, the defense has no objection, my lord. Yeah, what exactly am I going to do here? Am I just going to watch? Am I going to have to point out flaws in Kazuma's rebuttal?
Very well. Defendant, you will take the witness stand and give formal testimony on the subject of your involvement with the Reaper and the Assassin Exchange. As you wish, my lord.
This might also be the case if it's a testimony we don't get to cross-examine, because that happens sometimes. All right, well, with this new testimony, we're going to have to call it here. 'Cause my voice hurts. Judge Jigoku has a very grating voice that I could have changed, but I didn't, because I'm dumb. So my voice hurts, and we're going to change it up before I fully throw it out. And it's also 10:30. So, YouTube, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. We'll be back here. I don't know when we'll be back here, because it's not going to be on Friday. Friday, we're streaming some PGR for the new patch and the new unit. And then the next week is when the new patch for FF14 comes out. So we're probably not going to play this for like 2 weeks. until the 10th of October. So yeah, but we'll get back to this eventually. This will be a good starting point. Hopefully, I won't forget too much. Thankfully, most of the things I've forgotten, I think, have already been resolved, and I think it's more where we go from here is a solid spot. Ryunosuke Naruhodo's last name means I see. Yes, that's why Phoenix Wright's original name in Japan was a pun, which they decided to change in the localization for some reason. It was the early 2000s. Localization was a lawless wasteland. But YouTube, anyways, thanks for watching. Hope you'll see the next episode. Who knows when I'll upload it, but you'll see it. Anyways, thanks for watching.